a money problem. A notorious criminal caught rich businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. By the time he returned, Brian had already doubled the money. He hadn't left the room or communicated with anyone. Then how did he do it? He put the money in front of the mirror. The inheritance. Jim's uncle Archibald was a wealthy man who loved playing pranks on his relatives. That's why, when he passed away, no one could find his will. But one day, a few years later, Jim was looking through some old papers. Suddenly, his breath caught in his throat. The document he was holding was his uncle's will. It read, "I hid all my money and other valuables at 3 p.m. sharp under my favorite cherry tree, right where its shadow ends. The one who digs it out will be my heir." Jim was beyond happy. He was going to be wealthy. He drove to his uncle's posh villa and found the cherry tree. He waited till 3 p.m. and started to dig. But try as he might, his efforts didn't pay off. Confused and upset, he had to return home. Why didn't he find anything? It's been several years since Jim's uncle hid his valuables. The tree has grown taller, and its shadow has become longer too. Stolen documents. Early in the morning, Ashton got a call from his friend, an owner of a big company. The man was in distress. A very important contract had disappeared from his office. It was on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Ashton immediately headed to his friend's office to question the employees. In no time, he had 3 suspects. Ben said he'd spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason took his girlfriend out to dinner, and Jesse was invited to a party. It didn't take Ashton long to understand who was lying. It was Ben. His ticket wasn't torn, so he didn't actually go to the movies. The mystery of growth. When Mike was 15 years old, he hammered a nail into a cherry tree in his grandmother's garden. He wanted to mark his height. 10 years later, he returned to see if the nail was any higher. If the tree grew 1 inch taller each year, how much higher would the nail be? The nail's position wouldn't change. Trees grow at their top. Which one is more expensive? Eric went to the supermarket and took 2 oranges and 1 watermelon. They cost him $6. Helen went to the same supermarket. She opted for a lemon, an orange, and a watermelon. The girl paid $8. Oranges, lemons, and watermelons have different prices per piece. What's more expensive, an orange or a lemon? Eric had 2 oranges and a watermelon, which cost him $6. These 2 kinds of fruit have different prices, so it can't be 2 + 2 + 2. The only other combination is 1 + 1 + 4. Then a watermelon costs $4. Helen paid $4 for the watermelon and $1 for the orange. It means the lemon cost her $3, which makes it more expensive than the orange. I can dig caves, but I don't need a shovel to do it. I store silver and gold in these caves. I can build bridges, and I can make golden crowns. Everyone needs me at least once in a lifetime, but most people are scared of me. Who am I? I'm a dentist. An Orange Riddle. Jenny was locked inside a room with 15 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and everyone inside. To do it, they didn't need to turn their heads or bodies or move in any way. To get out of the room, Jenny had to place an orange in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The girl managed to do it, but how? She put the orange on one person's head. A realization. 3 friends fell asleep under a tree in the countryside. While they were resting, a boy painted mustaches on their faces. Once the men woke up, they started to laugh. But then, all of a sudden, they stopped. Why? At first, they saw the mustaches on their friends' faces and found it funny. But then, they realized their friends were laughing too. It meant they had mustaches on their faces as well. Who is it? Mark and Liza had been dating for 2 years. One day, the guy came to his girlfriend's house. He was going to propose to her. But when he made it there, he found Liza with another man. Mark was furious. The other guy got scared and rushed out of the house. Liza was shouting it was her brother, but Mark knew better. Unfortunately, he hadn't seen the guy's face clearly. When he ran outside, he saw 3 men. Which one is Liza's lover? It's the guy on the left. It's freezing outside, and the other 2 guys have red cheeks and noses. But the third guy's face is pale because he just left a warm house. Real or fake? Paul decided to visit his elderly aunt he hadn't seen for several months. But when he got to her house, he saw 2 men wearing construction worker uniforms. They were moving out some furniture. "What are you doing here?" Paul asked. "Mrs. Sanders hired us to help her get rid of old furniture. We're from Pick and Carry Transport Company," one of the men answered. He sounded honest. But Paul was a smart guy. He felt there was something wrong about the whole situation. Suddenly, he realized the men were burglars. How did he understand it? There was no company van near his aunt's house, just a dark car with tinted windows. Plus, why were the men wearing construction worker uniforms if they were movers? The Worried Wife. Jason got into a car accident and lost his memory. When he came around in his hospital room, he saw 3 young women near his bed. But the man couldn't remember who they were. Each of them claimed to be his wife. The doctor told him Jason had to stay in the hospital for at least 1 more week. "Sweetheart, what am I supposed to do if you never remember me?" The woman on the left was sobbing bitterly. "Honey, I'm so worried. Let's go home. I don't like it here. I'll take better care of you at home," the one in the middle exclaimed. The girl on the right was furious. "They're trying to steal you from me. Let's leave this place right away." Which lady is the man's wife? She's the one on the left. She's the only one who's worried. The other 2 want to take Jason away from the hospital, but he's injured and needs medical care. Wealthier grandfather. Aaron and his grandfather were very close. They spent a lot of time together and loved cracking detective riddles. Unfortunately, the elderly man passed away unexpectedly. His lawyer informed the relatives that the grandfather had hidden all his money, and he was a wealthy man. The one to find it would get all the inheritance. Aaron realized the grandfather wanted him to get everything. He ran to the elderly man's office and soon understood where to look for the money. Can you figure it out? There's a cross drawn on the picture with a fountain. That's the fountain from their garden. Aaron has to look for the money there. A weird choice. Every day, Mark rides his bike to the railway station to get to the college. There are 2 stops near his home. One is a mile away from his house, and the other 2 miles away in the opposite direction. In the morning, he always gets on the train at the first stop, and in the afternoon, he gets off at the second. Why? Mark's home and the stations are on the hill, and this method allows the guy to ride his bike down without any effort. Who's poor? These 2 girls are putting on their makeup and getting ready to go out and have fun. They're using pretty much the same things: lipsticks, cosmetics, clothes. Their phones look similar too. But one of these girls is poor. Who is it? Take a closer look at the girl on the left. Her phone gives her away. It's an obvious knockoff. But then again, she saves some money. She won't be poor for long. Trapped in a well. James was a famous detective who could crack even the trickiest mysteries. Once, he was investigating a case and found some crucial evidence. The next morning, he woke up in a well. It was old and deep, but luckily not filled with water. On the flip side, there was no way the detective could get out to the surface. Suddenly, James saw his main suspect's face at the top of the well. "You won't live long enough to rat me out," the man shouted. And then, the detective felt soil falling on his head. The guy was going to bury him alive. But in an hour, James was already out of the well and running away. How did he manage to get out? The detective started to shake off and tamp down the soil that was falling into the well. He was getting closer and closer to the surface until he managed to jump out and run away.